Well, welcome, Jacob, to REIWA House, and welcome to Western Australia. And it's great to have our National President of the REIA here in WA, so thank you.
Thrilled to be here with you.
So let's sort of jump into it. I think, our members may see the REIA in our national media and hear about its advocacy, but not necessarily always see the work behind the scenes. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Well, much like your team here in REIWA, who are always working behind the scenes with the current government, the opposition, and all of the other people that sit in the political spectrum to try and influence policy to make sure that the regulations that come into effect are the best regulations for a healthy housing and commercial property ecosystem here in Western Australia. REIA does the same thing at a federal level. So we're based in Canberra. We work almost exclusively in that federal or Commonwealth setting. We're working with ministers across a variety of different portfolios. Obviously, Treasury, that's the big one recently with the changes to negative gearing and CGT, but we work with Home Affairs. Home Affairs was responsible for the recent AML regulations. DQ, or the Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water. So Build Skills is a sub-branch of the Department of Jobs and Transport as well. So we work across a wide variety of portfolios in all of the regulatory environments that might have an impact on your members and how they operate their businesses day to day.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And you speak regularly with state and territory institutes. What themes are you hearing from real estate professionals around the country?
Well, look, it's impossible to escape the fact that we, across the nation, are in a housing slowdown right now, or the market slowdown. That's being felt differently across different jurisdictions. It's more acute in New South Wales and Victoria than it is in, say, Queensland and WA. You guys have been enjoying a really incredible period of growth in your housing market, but I can see the signs that that's starting to slow down too. I think businesses across the country are wondering what the impact of, for instance, those changes to the tax settings around CGT and negative gearing, what that's going to mean for their businesses, for their clients, and for their staff that are working there and relying on commissions, relying on a healthy property ecosystem to transact real estate. Certainly, the other thing that's common across the country is the increasing cost of rent and the pressure that the rental community are feeling, the tenants are feeling out there, as well as the increasing costs for investors to hold those properties as well. And again, the regulatory environment plays an outsized role in those impacts to clients, to staff within the businesses that are working there, and to Australians across the spectrum.
And could you give us, I guess, a little insight into what does national advocacy look like in practice?
Our approach has been, continues to be, and it will be in perpetuity, is to operate in good faith, to go in a calm, reasoned fashion, supported by data that makes the propositions that we're putting forward, the policies that we're proposing or opposing as well, which we have to do from time to time. But those recommendations are grounded in fact. And, that at different times, will be required to go harder at the sitting government. But we always take in a position that is backed up by fact and is also considerate or entrenched in an understanding and expertise of the housing market, the commercial, industrial and agricultural markets, but also an understanding of what the impacts will be for Australians. Every Australian that touches a property, that lives in a home, that goes to work in an office, that goes to work on a farm, they're impacted by these policies. And we're thinking about them and what's best for them when we conceive policies or when we oppose policies.
Thank you. And I love a data-driven approach, absolutely. How do issues raised by state institutes and their members become part of the REIA national agenda?
Yeah, well, increasingly, the federal or Commonwealth regulatory settings are having an impact at a state level too. And the insights that REIs around the country, whether you're in WA here, whether you're in Tassie, whether you're in the Northern Territory, the insights and intelligence that you can feed back into us about what the impacts, what the ramifications are, what the people on the ground who are doing this work every single day, the feedback that they're getting, the insights, the intelligence there, that informs how we approach that regulatory advocacy at that national level. That is part of the data set that we take in, all of the feedback, all of the inflection points that you and your members understand helps form a more cogent, a stronger and factual approach to the arguments that we take into the ministerial offices on the Hill in Canberra.
Well, thank you. And here at REIWA, we've been speaking about elevating our profession. And I think, what does that mean to you at a national level?
It actually is sitting there in our strategic plan for the next 3 years as a core KPI. The unfortunate reality of real estate in Australia is that it's one of those professions that isn't held in the highest esteem. Look, there's a variety of reasons for that. Unfortunately, just by the nature of what we do, it's highly emotive. When you are helping someone sell a home, that always comes at a moment of high emotion for someone. It could be the death of a partner that's translating into the need to sell, the long-held family home. It could be a marriage breakup. It could be kids leaving home. It could be someone moving out for the first time, right? And these are inescapably moments of high emotion. And we come into that context, and when we're helping the parties on either side, whether they're moving into that home, moving out of that home, purchasing that office space, leaving a generations held family farm, we're the broker in there. And it doesn't matter how good a job we can do. It's rare that everyone on either side of the transaction is really satisfied. So there tends to be an association with, bad emotions with the agents there, regardless of the outcome. So working against us in that respect is just the nature of the work that we do and the moment we come into people's lives. But we've got some campaigns in place at the moment, where there's some of the advocacy work we're championing, for instance, energy efficiency in homes. The AML is another massive piece in terms of uplift for our reputations. We're contributing to a public good in participating in AML. We're helping to eliminate the kind of funding of crime, some of the most heinous crime that's committed across the world, people smuggling, human trafficking, drugs, terrorist activities. By us coming into that tranche 2, being captured there and starting to participate in that regulatory regime, we're helping to stamp out that crime too. And that inevitably helps lift up the profession as well.
Absolutely. And tell me, what separates a skilled professional from someone who simply facilitates the transaction?
Involvement with the institutes is where I start. Fundamentally, the institutes across Australia provide the best qualification, the best training, the best continuing professional development and guidance around the best practice. I find uniformly across the country, the people that have a strong relationship and involvement with their institution are more often the best professionals out there in their marketplaces, right? Because they're keeping a finger on the pulse of the regulatory change and updates, because they're being guided about what good looks like, because they're competing against the best agents within their communities and marketplaces as well, because those agents are involved with the institute. So I'd say the common denominator is involvements with REIWA and REIQ and REIB, etc.
Yeah, and timely that REIQ are back in the fold of the federal model, which I think strengthens all of our positions.
Yeah, we are stronger together, as a fully federated model with a full participation of every state and territory. The impact that we can have, the credibility that we have when we walk into Parliament House is so much stronger and higher.
And I guess looking ahead, what gives you confidence about the future of the profession?
So much, again, I come back to this, I don't want to sound like over enthusiastic, but the REIs give me confidence. I get the privilege of coming and visiting all of the REIs, and they are peopled with, some of the best thinkers, some of the best minds, some of the best practitioners, some of the best advocates, some of the best commercial brains in the sector. And the fact that in each state and territory, this sector and the industry and the profession is being led by such talented, dedicated people gives me hope that we will, as we always have, continue to play a vital role in the communities that we serve.
Well, thank you. If I can just give you a couple of rapid fire questions now. And look, I think some of them are quite property related, but heritage charm or modern design?
Personally, heritage charm.
Home on
heritage
the coast?
on the outside, modern on the inside.
Heritage on the outside, modern on the inside. I like that. Home on the coast or up in the hills?
Coast.
Morning inspection or twilight viewing?
Twilight.
as the agent or the viewer?
Viewer, as the agent, morning.
Yeah.
I like to get my work done early.
Now, this might be a strange question coming from a West Aussie, but auction or private treaty?
Auction.
Probably the answer we expected from your home state. A housing trend you think is here to stay?
Energy efficiency as a value proposition, as a value differentiator.
And a housing trend you'd be happy to leave behind?
Do you know, like open plan? Let's get some rooms back in houses, like compartmentalise things.
One skill every real estate professional needs?
Genuine negotiation. Genuine negotiation. A lot of agents say they are great negotiators and they've never negotiated anything in their life.
Love it. And finally, one word to describe the profession today?
Vital.
Jacob, thank you very much.
Cheers,
Thank
mate.
you.